All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply fascinating manuscript that presents a literally mind-bending concept. We're talking about human psychic consciousness, but not just as some abstract, floaty philosophical idea. No, this text frames it as a hidden, dual-purpose operating system that's constantly running in the background of our physical bodies. Think of it kind of like the ultimate background app on your phone. It's managing everything quietly and seamlessly, 24/7, without you ever even realizing it's there. So, right off the bat, we have to ask, where does your consciousness actually live? The crucial point we're starting with today is a massive paradigm shift. It completely upends the everyday assumption that our consciousness, our core awareness, is strictly trapped inside our physical brain. Most of us just assume everything that makes us us is locked securely right up there in our skull, right? Well, the text we're examining today argues something radically different, and honestly, way more expansive. Section 1, Beyond the Brain, Where Awareness Lives. Okay, so the traditional view usually points to specific parts of the brain, like the hypothalamus, as the absolute boundary of our consciousness. But the manuscript asserts something absolutely incredible. It agrees that, sure, the hypothalamus might act as a central hub for psychic consciousness, but it is absolutely not confined there. Instead, the text claims it actually permeates the nucleus of every single cell in our physical body. Think about your own heart for a second. The heart is the organ responsible for pumping your blood. But the blood itself isn't exclusively trapped inside the heart, is it? Of course not. The heart sends it rushing through all your blood vessels to feed literally every extremity of your body. Well, the text argues that the hypothalamus acts in a remarkably similar way for our consciousness. It might be the central pump, sure, but the literal lifeblood of your awareness actually flows outward, animating every single cell you have. The text describes this in a way that's really poetic, but also surprisingly precise. It states that the soul, or psychic consciousness, quote, permeates our whole physical body in much the same way that air fills the smallest recesses of a room. It's not just clustered up in one gland or organ. It penetrates, vivifies, and animates our entire being. It's the whole shebang. That's what turns us into a perfectly conscious entity that's aware of ourselves and our environment. Moving on to Section 2, the perception problem. Why are we unaware? When you stand next to someone and you just catch a vibe off of them? Well, the manuscript introduces the concept of extrasensory phenomena to kind of explain exactly that. It suggests that we're actually being constantly bombarded by these subtle vibrations all day long. When you stand near someone, your pineal and pituitary glands are physically receiving vibrations that are emanating right off that person's aura. The text even says these vibrations could be perceived as colors. The phenomena are definitely there, literally hitting our psychic centers all the time. The issue isn't a lack of input signals, it's our total inability to interpret them. To help us understand why we keep missing these signals, the text offers this really amazing analogy. It compares us to a blind person whose blindness is caused by a functional abnormality in the eyes. In this case, the light vibrations are successfully reaching their eyes, but the eyes just can't transmit those vibrations back to the brain to be interpreted. It's the same deal with us. Our major psychic centers are receiving all these subtle auric vibrations, but because they're undeveloped, they just fail to transfer those stimuli up to the hypothalamus for us to actually perceive. Section 3, the dual function, two major programs. So going back to that tech analogy, this psychic operating system is basically running two major background programs simultaneously. The first job, permeating our cells and controlling basic physiological activity. It's managing our metabolism and all those involuntary functions we normally just lump together and call the subconscious. Simply put, it's keeping you alive. But its second job is interpreting those extrasensory phenomena. It acts as this incredibly powerful antenna, giving us the literal possibility of transcending material reality entirely. And that's a concept the source text ties deeply back to ancient laws found in the Nodin manuscript. Which brings us to Section 4, the breath of life, powering the system. Go ahead and take a really deep breath right now. Do it. We all know that physical oxygen taken from the air gives our bodies the chemical energy we need to survive. But the text proposes something way more expansive than that. It states that our entire solar system is permeated by a cosmic essence emanating directly from the sun. So, with every single breath you take, while oxygen is fueling your biology, this cosmic essence is simultaneously penetrating your bloodstream and vitalizing the psychic counterpart of every single cell's nucleus.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates why mystics throughout history have been absolutely obsessed with respiration and breathing techniques. It was never just about getting oxygen. It was about actively drawing in that cosmic essence. The text points out a really fascinating linguistic connection here, too. In many ancient languages, notably Sanskrit and Hebrew, the words for breath and soul are literally the exact same word. Ancient peoples intuitively understood that breathing provides vitality to both aspects of who we are.
So, what actually happens to all that cosmic energy once we breathe it in? According to the manuscript, our psychic centers basically bank it. They keep it safely in reserve and ration it out whenever we need it. If we're sick, it uses that stored energy to neutralize the biological imbalance. If you're completely exhausted but absolutely have to stay awake for something, it releases a surge of vitality. It's literally a psychic second wind. And for the mystics out there, this exact same stored energy potential is what gets called upon to consciously conduct experiments or to actually rise up to the psychic plane. And that leads us to our final section, Section 5, the unified self, an inseparable whole. Now, I know, up until this point, to keep the explanation clear, the source material kind of had to separate these concepts. We talked about the psychic body as one thing, the physical body as another, and the objective consciousness as a third. But the text aggressively emphasizes that, actually, in our normal waking state, these are not distinct entities at all. Your earthly personality forms an inseparable whole. The psychic body and the physical body form this perfect, seamlessly synchronized union. And that is exactly what allows you to simultaneously be conscious of yourself and of the incredibly complex environment going on all around you. The text perfectly summarizes this with a really simple, beautiful analogy. The light emitted by a candle is one with its flame. Think about it. You logically can't separate the light from the fire that's continuously producing it, right? It's impossible. In exactly the same way, psychic consciousness is simply the attribute by which your psychic body carries out its activities and perceives the physical world. They are fundamentally one and the same. And that brings us to one absolutely massive final question. The manuscript leaves us hanging on a real cliffhanger here. If we can truly learn to tap into and master this underlying psychic consciousness, are we ready to literally liberate ourselves from the limits normally imposed by our physical bodies through psychic projection? It is a phenomenally provocative thought from the text, and one that pretty much completely redefines what it means to be human.